Now, I'm not one to gossip, but I will bring you the tea. Welcome to Chronicle Speaks.
Please, I don't have any time for any gossip now. Eh? Yes.
Look at you.
Buckle your seatbelts, ladies and gentlemen, because the story I'm going to tell you today is going to have you feeling like it came straight out of a Tubi movie. So Diddy filed a renewed motion for bail a few days ago, and the government had up until the 15th to file their opposition. Now, they waited up until 11:23 p.m. on the 15th. They were trying their best to make sure they did not miss a thing, and let me tell you, they didn't. The government is not only accusing Diddy of contacting Kina of dirty money 128 times, but they're saying that Diddy sent her Don's complaint, coercing her to draft that statement that we all saw on her Instagram page, defending Diddy and slamming Don.
And so that's not tampering. That's fucking recall because that bitch is lying. Don's a weird motherfucker, man. She is. She's fucking weird, bro.
And on top of it all, they have proof that Diddy paid her to do it.
I'm a savage. Whatever I want, I'm going to get. Whatever I want, I have to get.
On top of that, Diddy is getting outside people to pay inmates inside of the jail to use their phone accounts. There are 8 different phone accounts that Diddy is using to mask his conversations from the government. But wait, ladies and gentlemen, there's more. Diddy is using a non-authorized third-party messaging service called Contact Me ASAP. He's using this app to email one of his sons and dozens of individuals, including attorneys and individuals who are not on his contact list. Diddy is also contacting his kids and telling them to set up social media interference. For instance, the video that we all saw of his kids wishing him happy birthday and Diddy being on the phone.
Happy birthday to Daddy.
Just for being strong. Thank y'all for being strong, and thank y'all for being by my side and supporting me. I love y'all. I got the best family in the world. My birthday, I'm happy. Thanks to y'all giving me this call. Thank you very much. I love y'all.
Not only is the government alleging that Diddy is using social media campaigns such as this to taint the jury pool, but they're saying immediately after this video was posted, Diddy got on the jail computer and searched the analytics from this video to see how well it went over with the public. Baby, when I tell you, I cannot make this up. We are going to get into this and so much more, but before we do, please be sure to subscribe to this channel and hit the bell for notifications so you don't miss out on any news regarding this story and so much more. Now let's get back into it. So Diddy's team recently claimed that the government's evidence was thin and that Diddy's team has new evidence that should cause the court to allow Diddy to enter a new motion for bail. Now the government is like, look, this man has already been denied by 2 previous judges, and both of these judges concluded that Diddy posed a serious risk of danger and also obstruction of the proceedings. Now, in order for Diddy to obtain a new hearing, he has to show new evidence. But according to the government, the only new evidence that Diddy is showing is that he continues to engage in a relentless course of obstructive conduct designed to subvert the integrity of the proceeding. Now, according to the government, since Diddy has been locked up, he has attempted to evade law enforcement monitoring. He's orchestrated social media campaigns that are, in his own words, aimed at tainting the jury pool, and he's made efforts to publicly leak materials he views as helpful to his case and also contacted witnesses through third parties. Because of all of this, the government feels that Diddy's request for temporary release should be denied. So again, Diddy can request his bail determination be reopened if there is new information that he did not know that existed before in his previous hearings. Now, Diddy attempted to use his relationship with victim 1, Cassie, and his communications with various witnesses as basis to reopen his bail hearing. However, these alleged new facts are the very same arguments made by defense counsel and rejected by the district court previously, dressed up with recently produced discovery. Because those facts were well known to the defendant before any discovery production, and because the defendant relied upon them in his prior hearings, he cannot recycle them here to revisit the sound determination made by Judge Carter that the defendant is a danger and risk to obstruction and must be detained. So what the government recently did was gave Diddy discovery, pretty much evidence or documents that will be used during the trial. So in this discovery, the government produced text messages between Diddy and Cassie, and according to Diddy, this is new material because it reveals a loving, at times toxic, long-term relationship two adults who decided mutually to break up had. However, this is not new information because Diddy's team used this in the September 17th hearing by saying the following. This is a 10-year relationship. This sex trafficking is a 10-year relationship. These two people were in love. That will be made abundantly clear by the way they speak to each other, by the way other witnesses describe their time together, and by the circumstances of how they broke up. They were in love, but Mr. Combs wasn't always faithful. At the end of the day, there was a mutual philandering, and victim number one ended up marrying the trainer that Mr. Combs got for her and had 2 children. That signaled the end of the relationship. According to the government, in presenting recently produced text messages, the defendant cherry picks to paint a misleading picture, ignoring numerous other messages in the record between the defendant and the victim, documenting the defendant's physical abuse of victim 1 and his threats to expose recordings of freak-offs. Cassie said this in a text message and Diddy's attorneys did not bring it up. So you know what sick and disgusting shit I was reminded of the other day? You forcing me to blank or you were going to leak freak off shit. I have a black eye and fat lip. You are sick and thinking it's okay to do what you've done, and I still have crazy bruising. I turn my head for a second and you get effed up and you drag me down the hall by my hair. I have bleeding cuts. You hit me in the head 2 good times. When you get effed up the wrong way, you always want to show me that you have power and you knock me around. I'm not a rag doll. I'm someone's child. The government is also bringing up the fact that Diddy's team is alleging that Cassie sued Diddy civilly to try to gain some type of financial windfall. However, they said this is not new information. You guys have been thinking she's been doing this. And if you continue to take offense to Cassie's credibility, the trial will be the appropriate forum to address that. Next topic of discussion is victim 2. So there is a victim 2. We don't know much information about this person besides this person is a female and this person was allegedly sexually assaulted by Diddy. Now, in Diddy's latest request for bail, Diddy is alleging that the government is misleading the court about the nature of communication between Diddy and victim number 2. Diddy specifically takes issue with the government calling this individual a victim. If you recall, in Diddy's last request for bail, his team was like, I don't even know why they're calling her a victim because we spoke to her and she said she hasn't even spoken to the government. The government asserts that communications and recordings between defendant Diddy and victim number 2, which the government relied during its initial bail hearing, are clear and support the government's argument. Now, whoever this victim is sent text messages not only to Diddy, but to others saying that she felt threatened by Diddy, mentioning that defendant Diddy had threatened to release compromising videos of them having sex, which she was allegedly drugged and coerced into doing things that Diddy asked her to do. He also mentioned having sexual trauma because of Diddy. The government states that despite the victim's distress and the troubling nature of the communications, Diddy continues to provide victim 2 with significant financial support, and the government feels like Diddy is using this financial support to try to control the victim into saying and doing what he needs her to do when it comes to this case and prosecution. So next we have witness number 1. This witness is a male. We're not sure if this witness worked for Diddy or what have you. However, this witness was trying to contact Diddy between the end of 2022 and January of 2024. However, his calls, his texts were never responded to. But this witness was served with a grand jury subpoena on June 19, 2024 and appointed counsel on June 25, 2024. And surprisingly, he got a contact from Diddy June 26, 2024. The defendant used indirect means such as calling witness number 1's wife and later communicating via voice over IP services using text messages and calls lasting over 7 minutes. After witness number 1 secured counsel, the defendant Diddy continued to contact this witness over and over again. Diddy's counsel even spoke to the witness directly. Although witness 1 did go and testify before the grand jury on July 25th, 2024, Diddy continued reaching out both via phone and text messages. Phone records indicate that multiple exchanges between Diddy and witness number 1 lasted from June to August of 2024, but when the government recovered Diddy's phone and went through his phone, all of those messages were deleted. So now we're going to speak about witness 2, which is Kina from Dirty Money. So Diddy's trying to say that he's always been in contact with Kina, and him contacting her the day after Dawn filed the lawsuit wasn't anything new. However, the government is saying that you guys were speaking and then you stopped in March of 2024. And from the timeline and the context of the defendant's contacts with witness number 2, it's clear that Diddy reinitiated contact with witness number 2, Kina, in September of 2024, with the purpose to ensure that witness number 2, Kina, was on his side and to pressure her into making a public statement denying everything that Don said. So Diddy reached out to Kina on September 11th, 2024 and sent her a copy of the lawsuit against Diddy, in which Kina's name was mentioned several times. This is the lawsuit that Don filed. Diddy then called Kina and they spoke for nearly 6 minutes. After reading the lawsuit, Kina called Diddy back at his request and they spoke for over 4 minutes. Evidently, Diddy and Kina discussed Kina drafting a statement as immediately after the call, and Diddy told Kina in a text message, blank, we don't know what was said, and the defendant, Diddy, then asked Kina for her attorney's name. So from September 11th, 2024 through September 15th, 2024, Diddy and Kina exchanged multiple texts and multiple calls, at least 128 contacts in total. Throughout these phone contacts, Diddy repeatedly asked Kina when she planned to post her statement. Kina ultimately made a statement about the lawsuit via an Instagram post on September 13th, 2024. Then, after Diddy was in custody, BOP investigators recovered the following notes from the defendant's cell during a pre-planned nationwide sweep of BOP facilities. We can't see what's in the notes, however, the strong inference to be drawn from the defendant's communications with Kina and his personal notes is that the defendant paid Kina after she posted her statement.
Now we're doing recall. And so that's not tampering, that's fucking recall because that bitch is lying.
So since Diddy's arrest, the government has continued investigating Diddy's obstructive conduct and began receiving recordings of Diddy's BOP calls in October of 2024. These calls in their entirety will be produced to the defendant through a filter team prior to the bail hearing, which is scheduled for next Friday, November 22nd, 2024. The government did not previously disclose these recordings due to its ongoing investigation, i.e. we wanted you to keep him and yourself up so we could go ahead and lock you up and throw away the key. So Diddy has been allegedly using other prisoners' PAC numbers. So when his family's getting phone calls, instead of them hearing, you have a collect call from Sean Combs, they're hearing, you have a collect call from Jerry Johnson. You have a collect call from Johnny Jones. Diddy is doing this to evade them from being able to listen to his conversations. But let's take a look at this. The government has reviewed dozens of recordings of BOP jail calls in which the defendant uses telephone accounts of at least 8 other inmates, which is against BOP regulations. Seemingly to avoid law enforcement monitoring, the defendant uses other inmates' PAC numbers to make phone calls to both individuals on the defendant's approved contact list as well as other individuals who are not on the approved contact list. To obtain or maintain access to other inmates' PAC numbers, the defendant directs others to pay the inmates, including through payment processing apps and BOP commissary accounts. The defendant knows that this is against BOP regulations. At the outset of each telephone call, the inmate is prompted to enter his PAC number, after which an automated recording announces sharing of PAC numbers is against BOP policies and is subject to disciplinary action. Your black ass should know better. All right, so let's get into three-way calling. The defendant, Diddy, also frequently instructs individuals whom he contacts by telephone, including family members and his attorneys, to add other individuals via three-way call. This practice is not authorized by BOP as it helps conceal the identities of the contacted individuals. The government has reviewed multiple calls in which the defendant has instructed others to dial in third parties, including members and associates of the enterprise and individuals who are not on the defendant's contact list. Now let's talk about the unauthorized messaging services. In addition to flouting BOP rules regarding phone use, the defendant also uses a non-authorized third-party messaging service called Contact Me ASAP to obscure his communications. The defendant appears to be using 2 Contact Me ASAP accounts. First, the defendant's BOP contact list includes a particular email address assigned to the defendant's son, which does not appear to be an account owned by the defendant's son, but instead appears to be an email address connected to Contact Me ASAP. Second, the defendant appears to be using another inmate's Contact Me ASAP account. primarily using email number 1. The defendant has exchanged hundreds of text messages via Contact Me ASAP with dozens of individuals, including attorneys and individuals who are not on defendant's contact list. And they're saying that Diddy is continuing to use these unauthorized methods of communication to continue his efforts to obstruct and subvert this criminal proceeding. Diddy's efforts to obstruct the integrity of this proceeding also includes relentless efforts to contact potential witnesses, including victims of his abuse, who could provide powerful testimony against him. For example, on October 4th, 2024, in a call involving the defendant and one of his adult sons, the defendant says this, which they have it all blacked out. However, they go on to say that it provides the clear interference that the defendant's goal is to blackmail victims and witnesses either into silence or providing testimony helpful to his defense. So with Diddy saying, you know what, I'll be in the house, I'll have on my leg monitor, you guys can make sure I don't do any drugs, you guys can make sure nobody comes in, I won't have access to social media. The fact that you're able to do all of that while in custody, what the hell you think this man is gonna do when he's in his house? They are not letting him out anytime soon. What I need to do is hear from you. What do you think about everything going on in the world of Diddy? Leave a comment and you know how we do. We'll talk about it down below. Talk to you guys later. Bye. As always, thanks for watching. But before you go, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and hit the bell so you don't miss out on any of my new episodes.